Hello everyone, I hope everybody's staying happy, healthy and safe. Today I wanted to bring you up an update on my summoner that the league started with in the harvest. I actually started with slave drivers and eventually moved on to the redemption sentry, which is the specters that you can see right here. And I wanted to give you like a showcase and go over the build and how I built this. But let's start with the map and we'll see how that's gonna go, and then eventually we'll move on to all the gear and all the options. Okay. Eventually I wanna make a separate video about the differences between redemption symphonies and slave drivers, and because I play necromancer and summoners a lot in general. I like the playstyle and I enjoy all the nuances of the builds. But this was my first time actually after they release all these new different mobs that we can actually raise, and it's been like there's been like a learning curve, and I feel like I've actually looked for myself in YouTube to see like if anybody has like a video about like when to play one versus the other, because I don't feel like the one is necessarily better than the other one in all scenarios. There are certain scenarios that one is way better than the other, and you should not play a necromancer the way that I do. I play way too head on, especially if you're like, you can play however you like, but especially if you are in hardcore, don't play the same way that I do. Don't go head in first. But yeah, I'll eventually wanna go over. Oh my god. Yeah. I eventually wanna make another video basically going over all the differences. And generally, this is one of the harder maps. This is a T16 map. I'm level 92 in SSF. So do expect some problems even at this. Like I'm open to it basically. But I wanted to showcase like how it feels. Drox is actually pretty hard for us because we don't have any physical damage reduction, like not that much. So we solely rely on our flasks for some mitigation, and the build has a bunch of different things that I still haven't picked up, and I'll go over everything because I don't want to make a separate video after I farmed everything. This is SSF, so you cannot expect everything to be there whenever you want it. You cannot buy everything. You have to farm a bunch of different things, and I've been somewhat unlucky in different scenarios. For that reason, I'm gonna give you guys what I'm gonna be doing long term, and hopefully for the next video I'm gonna, even if I'm still playing this specific character, you already know what I'm gonna be working toward. Not sure if I'm gonna get there or not, but like, I'm gonna try nonetheless. But yeah, the playstyle is very simple. Like if your minions are like a little bit back, they're gonna come to you, but even if they do not, just press your convocation. Not only that, it gives like minion regions, which is really nice, and then you just move around, put your Stormbrand. In this case, I'll talk about another. Oh my god. So but yeah, I'll talk about something else that you can do besides Stormbrand, because Stormbrand, I don't feel like it's the best skill to use for the purposes that we are doing, but I like the playstyle more than the ball lightning, which is the other option, and I'll go over that when I'm going over all the skills and gear and everything. But yeah, and we died. Yeah, this is not the playstyle you should be doing. You should stay safe and just put your death mark on the enemy if you want to kill. Even if you don't, if you just put the Stormbrand down, they're gonna target the enemy that you're attacking. This is an attack, so like I don't put anything here, they're gonna come out, and as soon as desync. Oh, What can you do? That's why I don't play hardcore. uh, that was not fair. I feel like. Just start putting down some. That was a very bad desync. Like, I don't know what happened. Anyway, yeah, you should stay a little bit further down. And the fact that I'm playing on a windowed mode doesn't help because sometimes I click outside of the game, which is not good. Just focus on the map a little bit. The reason I actually play windowed mode and not full screen windowed is because like my monitor is wild, and YouTube, a lot of people don't like the wild on YouTube, and it's gonna show like two black bars on the top and the bottom. And even when I did used to have like a separate monitor, whenever the video was wild, I was like always, oh, this is such a bad thing, and I didn't like it. That's why I always play in windowed mode whenever I wanna make a video, so nobody has to go through that. Basically, that's pretty much it. No, that's the dust waiting to happen. Maybe every now and then just wait until your minions clear up a little bit. This is a T16, so not the easiest map to run. And they're all 92. With a lot of, so as I was mentioning, this SSF, so we're lacking a whole bunch of different things, and that's one of the things that I'm gonna go over. But the fact that even without all those things, we can still somewhat run a T16 map, right? That means that the build is pretty nice. I wouldn't suggest it, like when I'm gonna go over the different types of Spectres, I'll talk about it, but I don't suggest this redemption sentries for every map. It very much depends on the type of content that you want to run and the type of map you want to run, right? But like the map like this with like a bunch of choke points, it's not the greatest for running redemption sentries. And something that you always want to do, you want to make sure your stuff don't die.
Too much clutter.
Yeah. Okay, with 2 deaths in a single map. Let's go over. I don't have enough room, so I wanted to actually run the Drox himself, but it's not actually as hard as running a map when you're running a boss, because it's very simple. You stay all the way back, you're dodging, you just put the death mark on them and put your Stormbrand on them and switch a gem, and that's how I built this. So from the weapons perspective, this is the minions have increased damage and deal double damage from always what do you call it, temple, basically. Just run a couple of them, you'll eventually get something like this. I still don't have the trigger socket spell when you use a skill, which is the eventual goal for this. And if I did have that, I would put Bone Offering plus the Desecrate somewhere in here. Yeah, Desecrate. And I'll probably use the, where's my gems? I should have a Tempest Shield. Yeah, Tempest Shield in there, just to keep all of them all the time. That's from my weapon. Actually, let's go over the tree a little bit more, because I changed a bunch of different things. I'm still going for Death Attunement. You can see the POB attached. Whispers of Doom. Specifically, I took Whispers of Doom because I'm running the Redemption Sentries, and I'll talk over it because we need 2 curses this time. Enduring Bond, all the good stuff, still EE. I still don't have any jewels to put in there. That's worth putting in. So I have like 1 point just sitting there, another 1 point there. After I get like 2 good jewels, I'll take those. Indomitable Army. For some chaos resistant, we come here, we go over here. We can do these 2 points, but this is 1 point less. So, and the attack speed doesn't really matter as much. Righteous Army, Redemption. I actually take another endurance charges because of Enduring Cry, which I'll go over. Devotion for some resistances. I'm coming here for Anointed Flesh for 1 max res and go through the shock resistance because that's 30% effect of shock on you, which is really nice. And I don't run any shock removal. Glancing Blows, I picked it up after I put the Bone Offering on my cast when damage taken. Now I actually get 75%, 60% when my Bone Offering is up. I still don't have the shield to go with it, which I'll go over it. Grave Pact, Tireless, Life, a bunch of armor and life here. And I'm coming for Soul of Still. Used to be 5% reduced physical damage taken. I feel like that's missing here, especially for people like us, because we travel all the way to here just to grab this. And that was a really nice addition, which they removed. I'm not sure if it was broken, really. Especially with the price of anointment right now, it's like gold, whatever. Bloodless, and we grab Call to Arms for our Endurance Cry to be instant, right? Instant. That's pretty much it. So the reason that we do this and go for instance is very small. We can still cast it ourselves, but there's a numlock trick. So if you press 1 and then press numlock and lead and just drop them both like this, every time that it comes up out of the cooldown, it automatically casts it again. So whenever I go into a new zone, I just press this and be done with it. It's turned off. That should do it. So as I was mentioning, cast when damage taken, Bone Offering and Still Skin, plus the actual Scepter, which has like the increased damage and attack speed. The 5% chance is really nice, but not that much. Even if you don't get that, just get minion, they'll increase damage. That's pretty much it. Eventually, you'll have to go for a convoking one with either +1 to +1 to all minion skill gems or +1 to all spell skill gems. We go for convoking one because that gives us 2 options of all spells only. We can get all minions and all spells. I'm still trying to craft mine, but we still need one of those 2. That and the an Elder Boot can give you +1 to all Raise the Spectre gems. That's at least 2. Like if you get 1 here and 1 here, that's 2. You get the Raise Spectre level 21 +2 from the global modifiers, which is your ascendancy. That gives you 25. That's 4 Raise Spectres. I still haven't gotten that. That's like one of the things that I'm trying to craft this one, and I'm trying to alter spamming the convoking one to get those 2 levels, and then I'll have 4 Raise Spectres instead of 3. That's a 33% increase, more damage for us, right? Multiplier. So that's the next step that I still have no luck. Like I've alt spammed like over 500 alterations on the wand, and I've been using all my grove crafting on this one to just get that 1 mod of +1, but to no avail. Interestingly enough. For our helmet, we are going with like life resist. I managed to get that 4% of physical damage from hits taken as fire damage, which is really nice, and the +1 to socketed minion gems. Always nice. You can go up to +3. This is where we actually put all of our support minions. Raise a Spectre, which is level 20-23 for more life. Basically to do Feeding Frenzy, give Feeding Frenzy buff to our Spectres and Elemental Army to get, because we have Hatred and they are affected by Hatred, so they will proc this, and this will give -10% to cold resistance to the enemies. At the same time, we are going for Summon Carrion Golem. If you're not using Redemption Sentries, I would suggest instead of this, go for another Golem that you like a Chaos Golem for reduced physical damage taken, or for Stone Golem for life regeneration. Another way of doing that, which I'm doing in my offhand, is the what's it called again? Animate Guardian. Another Animate Guardian with some good uniques. You can actually search for uniques, but like I don't have all of the uniques that I'll need. But like as an example, where is that? Yeah, like Lear Cast, it gives a 15% increased damage to all you and nearby allies, which means your specters are gonna get that. So that's another way of doing it. If I was going with Slave Dargers, I would have probably done that, because Summon Carrying Golem only gives physical damage, which is how you scale your Redemption Sentries, because their attack is physical converted to 75% converted to cold, so the base physical, that's why you'll use Carrying Golem. Everything else will remain the same for both of them. Convocation, Skitterbot for Shell and 18% shock, which is always nice. Slower projectile, I'll change the gem from greater multiple projectile, which is a less multiplier for us, like we're losing a bunch of damage on this, right, to slower projectile whenever I'll do single target. The other links is raise the specters, minion damage, vicious projectile, elemental damage with attacks, because they have three different. I'll go over it, but for now, just elemental damage with attacks, death mark, and greater multiple projectiles. If you're not doing redemption sentries for slave drivers, definitely don't use any of these. Basically, elemental damage with attacks, vicious projectile, and greater multiple projectile. Instead, you will keep minion damage and death mark. Instead, you will replace spell echo, elemental focus, because you don't care about shocking. There's probably you're not gonna be shocking. You're gonna still rely on the Skitterbot for shocking, and one more link. I don't remember what I was using originally, but it's basically 6 blue, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look real quick and see. And instead of hatred, you'll go with Raz. I was using a spell echo. I didn't probably have a 6 link. That's why. I'm using dash for mobility. You can use flame dash if you want. Dash is a little bit less cast time compared to flame dash, but you should not really feel it. This one keeps 3 casts at the same time, so it's probably better if you're in a dire situation. As I was mentioning, I'm taking these 3 nodes just because I want to have 2 curses. I'm going with Stormbrand, Curse on Hit, Frostbite, and Projectile Witness. Frostbite because these are doing, my Spectres are doing cold damage, which means that they can actually chill and freeze. And I've been freezing not T16 bosses, but even up to like T13 bosses very, very reliably without doing GMP, like slow projectile over GMP. So Frostbite instead of the elemental, if you're doing slave darvas, you probably want elemental weakness, but Frostbite is better for us in this scenario. I'm doing projectile weakness. The only reason is that hits on cursed enemies have known. Where's the pierce? Oh, projectile pierce cursed enemies. So GMP, they fire 5 projectiles, but the first enemy they hit, they don't do anything. They don't have fork, they don't have anything, and that's it. So you'll hit at most 5 enemies per hit. Unlike a slave darvas, when you'll hit an area, whichever enemy is in that area. But if there are 2 enemies back to back, you will hit the first one, it's not gonna pierce. And that's why we're using the projectile weakness to give some area coverage to our raise specters. So they'll have 5 projectiles, and each one of them can pierce the enemies. So you should do ball lightning if you want to stay back and play like a hardcore style. You ball lightning, it will hit a line, and because you're hitting an enemy, your minions are gonna focus them down. At the same time, as it's piercing through all the enemies, all the enemies are gonna get projectile weakness, and then your minion or your specters are gonna pierce those enemies as well. But I like Stormbrand because it has like its own chain. I put it down and it's instant. It's not ball lightning goes through, but like it's instant whenever you want it. But the chain is not as effective. So it's your play style. Choose whichever you want. Try it out definitely with both of them. If you're using slave drivers, if you want to keep the 2 curses, I will put a defensive curse in here. Either what are the 2 curses that the one that gives reduced damage dealt by the enemies, or the other one that reduces their movement speed, attack speed, and cast speed. One of the 2 would be nice. Life resistance with movement speed. Eventually will get that +1 to all raised Spectre gems. Right now, Arctic armor. I was using Arctic armor with this set of reduced mana reservation, 4, 4, and 6, and that would allow us to reserve Summon Skitter Bot with Hatred and Arctic armor for some less physical damage taken. But I dropped that after I got the Dancing Blows for the physical damage reduction. You can do other things. You can do other like spider aspect of the spider is another thing that comes to mind if you want to go that route. I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. Depends on your playstyle and how much you can scale your damage without having any of those things and your survivability. But if you are playing hardcore, probably that's something I would do. Arctic armor, generosity with hatred, because we want to have hatred not on us, because that's gonna mess up our E. But if we want to have everything else have hatred, and endurance cry, as I mentioned, for some life regen, and some endurance charges for physical damage reduction. We don't have that much physical damage reduction because we don't scale armor at all. That's why I've been trying to scale, have some armor like a granite flask, and then I have the 67 of iron skin on this one as suffix, just to have like, if I go over this, I'm gonna have 11,000 armor, which is not that bad. And there is a consideration to be had about the new imbalanced guard to see if that's worth it for us or not. This is gonna only affect armor and physical damage reduction, so I didn't take it. You guys feel free to try it out and see if you want it. I feel like this is more than enough for like a couple of hits in a dire situation. Otherwise you should be far away from the enemies. Okay, yeah, that's all the gems that I went to. I went over, get as many minion gems as you can here, because that's gonna give survivability to your other minions. We went over the wand, we went over the +1 here. For I'm using Tabula Rasa right now, and probably the end goal for this is going over one of the, in the mines, going over one of the minion domes and get a +1 to number of specters. That's my end goal, and I've been trying to go over a bunch of different things. I still haven't had any luck. I'm not that high level in the mine itself. Where am I? I'm currently at 106, which is not that much, but I still haven't had any luck in that regard. But that's the end goal, so I'll keep farming until I find something, or I give up and go for maybe some other chest piece with like life, personal life, something like that, or if there's like a unique chest piece I don't remember that has like a built-in pierce. That's another way of going for this specific redemption sentries and dropping projectile weakness for another curse, or removing the +1 curse and get like 3 points back. Yeah, that's pretty much all the updates that you can take. You can I've had no luck in the amulet. There's a unique amulet, Jinx Juju or something, that's shares 10% of the damage you take to your raised specters. That's definitely something you should consider if you're in trade league or you manage to be lucky and find one. I still haven't found anything. As you can see, I don't have any unique build. I haven't found anything useful so far, except the taboo rasa. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The map that we ran was at Awaken level 4. I'm still trying to get more. I'm not so successful. My completion is at 108 and 5, which is for 1 week into the league. Given my SSF, you don't get to choose, right? But yeah, that's pretty much all the things that I wanted to talk to you about for this build. Leave a comment if you have like any other questions. If I missed something, let me know, and I hope you guys enjoy yourself. Thank you guys for watching.